it just me?
Hey everybody, welcome to Late Horror Show. I am Dino, and that is
Kelsey. Good to see you guys again.
Yeah, here we are. We got another one to do for you. It's called The Soul Collector 2019, originally titled 8. It's a South African film, directorial debut by Harold Holscher. It's your typical sell your soul to the devil movie, and I am going to let Kelsey start us off here with what the movie kind of is about, and we'll dig into it a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very layered, complex film. The tone is definitely a little different than, I guess maybe your typical horror fare. It has sort of, I wouldn't necessarily quite call it a slow burn, but it has this very, raw and personal type of feel, and almost it's very big on sort of some of the philosophical conversations, especially about life and death and this connection between the two. Very big
reincarnation,
reincarnation, and this connection, what we become, but also it's very very focused on kind of the desperation when you love someone, what will you do to save them, and sort of your past coming back to haunt you and regret. So there's a lot. There's definitely a lot the characters are dealing with, for sure.
Yeah, cycle of life. Like you said, there's a lot going on for a simple story. With selling your soul to the devil, but technically there's this couple who taking care of what are their names? Sarah and William, and I believe, or no,
Mary's the girl.
Mary is the girl. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Mary's the young girl who is being taken care of by Sarah and William, and they are going to his father's farm. It's like rural South African farm, there's some natives over across the way, acres away.
And they're newcomers to the area, so they're kind of a little bit the fish out of water, kind of new people coming in and not realizing this kind of darkness and threat that's kind of seemed to be based on their beliefs and folklore a bit of this demon. Yeah,
and I think there's a little bit of South African folklore in this, because there's a lot of imagery of moths and reincarnation, and it must play into some of the South African folklore. Got to dig a little bit deeper into that, but very interesting take on it all. But you got this character Lazarus who helped on the farm before, he says. But he's kind of, if they throw back this imagery to when his daughter died. Basically, his daughter, Lazarus, was burning in the house, and I guess asphyxiated and burned and all this stuff. And a demon comes out from the sky, and basically, who sells their soul? I guess Lazarus sells his soul to this demon, right?
Basically be his henchman and do his bidding.
Yeah. And thus, giving life, if you call it that, to his daughter, Thule, which basically is a demon itself. So, his price for his daughter, I mean, it wasn't worth it. I mean, but who's to know? When you're put in that situation, you're like, the demon says, I can save your daughter, I can give her life, you know what I mean? But he finds out he's a henchman, his daughter's a demon, and he's got to feed her souls, basically, to remain living in the state that she is, in this very cool sack, or whatever you want, a leather sack, brown sack, and her eyes kind of peek out of it. So it's pretty cool. But he keeps her hidden on the farm and stuff, and I don't know.
Yeah, and the look of the demons was really cool too. Very, kind of like animalistic, primal. Just their movements were just great. There was just this kind of dark grittiness. And so a lot of it, it's almost, I guess, most of the main horror maybe comes a little later, but I like that it was kind of this darkness kind of looming over everything. So it wasn't just like, oh, it's like a drama for an hour and then all of a sudden it switches. And it's almost more terrifying because we realize what Lazarus has to do, and he forms a sort of unlikely friendship with the young girl Mary, who she's recently lost her parents, and she is really fascinated by I guess a mixture of death and these kind of nature and creatures that kind of represent metamorphosis, and they kind of have this bond with both having this great loss and kind of needing someone who understands them, and they kind of start to become that to each other. So it's almost even more dark and intense and builds up this tension more, because you see he really doesn't want to hurt her, but it's it's what the demon wants.
Yeah. No, I mean, the bond between him and her do get very close, and there's a point in the movie towards the end, 3/4 of the way through, where they're sitting at that campfire, and he's she asks him to promise that they'll always be together and you'll never hurt me, and he kind of does promise, but in a way kind of doesn't, because he knows hey, I can't kind of promise I'm not gonna, because what he's going to do, it's going to take your soul, one of the sadder parts of the movie. And just to mention, too, it is a 2-hour movie, but this movie flew by for me. Even though, people would say it's a slow burn, there was so much underlying storyline that it just kept me enthralled the whole time. And before I knew it, I'm like going, that was a 2-hour movie? I mean, it was really well done. I mean, you got the couple, too, Sarah and William, who Sarah says she can't have a kid. So... and that's a big point of this movie, too. She can't have a kid. She says, I'm rotted inside, which is terrible to say. I mean, I know being depressed, you can't have a kid and stuff, but don't talk about your insides being rotted.
Have some self-respect.
I mean, come on, I mean, Jesus. Oh.
The damn pressures of womanhood.
Yeah, I tell you. What? No, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But yeah, no, it's so she's kind of down on things, and she's very suspicious of Lazarus. They try putting a little race thing going on there because he's a black man, and he's peeking at the house, which I get. You don't want anybody looking at your house and like just creeping up on the younger girl, and so there was some of that going on there too. I understood that, but he was just trying to help out so he can get his soul.
Right.
So he was evil, and she was right.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was right. Yeah, there's definitely a little, again, race isn't a huge issue of this, but it does come into play a little bit, especially, after I watched it, I kind of looked into a little bit of what was going on. It
was 1977, I believe they mentioned the date of, the time period of this movie.
Yeah, and then in 76, there was this big youth uprising in the country, which was basically fighting against racism and segregation that was against the blacks in the area. And it kind of turned into, the police were very, very forceful and quickly, going to tear gas and shooting students, of all people, who were trying to peacefully protest. So it kind of brought out this kind of brutality of the government, and kind of had these, sentiments about, at least there was a certain separation. So I think that this white family that comes into the area, that again, they're not, most of it is pretty well intentioned and understanding. They see, some people in suspicious, situations, but it's definitely the natives who, are really there and understand this demon and what's been going on, and know that Lazarus is responsible for a lot of their family members' souls being taken.
Right.
And then, you kind of have the kind of new white family move in, and again, it's well-intentioned, but our main male lead there kind of is a little aggressive, his kind of instinct, I think, is a little bit to think that they're a threat, where this guy is really trying to save all of their souls, pretty much. So I think there's just a little bit of divide, and maybe some of the sentiments at the time when they were really just trying to fight for their, like, salvation, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's worth noting it's not politics, and race isn't a huge aspect of this.
Underlying.
Yeah, underlying for sure. And again, that just, like, shows how many layers that it really has. You know, it goes into this folklore and meaning of life and death, and, you know, so many characters are, you know, facing a big loss. You know, you even mentioned Sarah, it's like the loss of what she hasn't been able to have, you know, like her own family. So yeah, it's just, honestly, these characters are going through some tough stuff. But yeah, it's just a very sort of intimate, sweeping kind of, there's a lot of tragedy to it, but there's also, like, this, I don't know, underlying sort of different way of thinking. Like, I think in a lot of ways, almost like they're trying to, like, showcase how death isn't, like, the ultimate loss.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's the biggest thing they're trying to get across in this film is reincarnation, basically. The cycle of life, and that, you know, death isn't the end, you know, the life continues, I think.
And like you said, when Lazarus saves his daughter, what is he really saving? It's like, because he couldn't bear with that thought of letting her go, he actually sentenced them both to a pretty hellish existence, rather than just accepting death and kind of letting it be. Yeah.
No, which is what they get to at the very end of the film. Although that very last 10 seconds, I still don't understand. But yeah, no, he basically, you know, rounding out this movie here, basically Lazarus does take the little girl's soul, you know, after he promised her he wouldn't hurt her, which was sad. I mean, the girl, very well acted the girl was. Everybody in this movie was really well acted.
Yeah, she was fantastic. Well, her and Lazarus, I think, and the actors were definitely kind of the strong point.
Right.
Like, yeah, Mary definitely pulled me in, like, immediately. Like, you just care about her. She's, especially if you're a horror fan watching this, she's kind of like a low-key goth girl who doesn't seem like one, because she's very fascinated about the things that are morbid or weird or not typical things that little girls should be into. But I think it's almost some of that is what's, like, grounding her and making, you know, her be able to accept this, like, loss that she's experienced, and kind of opening up her mind to different possibilities.
Yeah, and I think that's the sad part of the movie, where he takes her soul, and then they immediately go to this. Once they kill Lazarus, he ends up being in kind of this limbo state with Mary, and don't ask me why just those two are there, though. Although the parents are across the way. I don't know.
Well, I think in the limbo state, I think because I think he knew. Okay, we're getting into the ending, so if you don't want to know the ending, just mute for a minute.
Spoilers here.
But I think, you know, he knew that he had to constantly be this demon's henchman as long as he was alive. So he was like, oh, I might have to do this to her, but if I take myself out, then I don't have to keep on doing this demon's bidding. So my understanding was they both were essentially dead, but she had the choice whether to be reincarnated or stay in this dimension.
Gotcha, there you go. Yeah, they're in that limbo area where they could move on, or they could, you know, whatever. You see the light, go to the light. It's complicated, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But he kind of gave her the choice. He's like, you know, your parents are there. You can go with your parents who are dead, or you can, you know, go back. Or I forget the exact words he used, but you know, and then just like that, she chose to basically go back. But the funny thing is she ends up going back. Well, see, they show the couple again, and they're still on the farm. They fast forward a few months, whatever. You see the belly on Sarah, and she's pregnant. So she wasn't so rotted, right?
Was she?
Or was she? Yeah. I mean, who did the magic to make her better? Who knows? I don't know. Some unanswered questions. I don't know.
I guess it's up to interpretation, but I
Yeah.
think it's assumed that the demon was like, okay, I'll give you what you want. Again, it's usually she targets people when they're in their most like desperate states.
Right. Thus why we got the very ending that we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah. She may have made a deal with
Yeah, that was my
the
understanding.
demon too. Yeah. We watched this last week. So, yes, that's the point. So she's pregnant. She's finally, and then it ends again. If you don't want to hear this, turn it off. Go watch the movie. But the very 10 seconds, like right before it cuts off, they pan up to her, and there's a moth in her mouth. So she's going to eat a moth, and the moth is a very big deal because the moth represents a soul, and the soul is going into. So was she pregnant, and then that was Mary, the soul of Mary, or was that just another soul? So who knows? I don't know, but that's the way the movie ends, and that was the only thing that had me going, what the? It was a little weird for me. But overall, I loved the film. I don't know what you thought of that very end.
Yeah,
with that moth.
I mean, I don't mind a certain amount of like open-endedness, take your own interpretation. But yeah, overall, like if there's a main point that you want to leave me with, I don't mind it being a little clear.
Right.
Yeah, I could have gone. I guess it could be taken a few different ways. It could be that this demon was like, she was tricked, basically. Lazarus got out of his deal, essentially. And so he could have made this deal with her and been like, I'm not going to wait for, I'm going to take the soul now for myself and kind of cut you out.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it could be the baby's soul before it was born, but that seems a little weird.
Yeah. Because she was already pregnant, at least a few months pregnant.
Yeah.
So, and the soul comes in there, who knows, the very beginning with the egg and this. Whatever. We're getting a little philosophical, but,
It's a pretty philosophical movie, though.
Right. It is.
Yeah, I will say, while the horror is definitely very much a part of it and is constantly brewing, almost the philosophy and some of the moral questioning, I think, is just as big of a presence in the film. So it's definitely a mixture.
Yeah, no, so there you go. That's the film. A fantastic film, like I said, 2 hours felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It went by really quick, So.
Very engaging, very visually very beautiful. And I think
Yes.
they did a really good job of kind of, portraying all these sort of oppositions, with the countryside that you see at times. It's very open, but also has this entrapping, condemning feeling, and they kind of work
isolated.
Isolated for sure. They work with opposites a lot, and it's just a well executed, interesting film that had a lot of layers for sure.
Yeah, and for his debut film, it's no, you can't. Well, you can do better. Everybody can do better, but it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and again. I think 7 out of 10 for me with this film. So yeah, that's.
Let's go with. I think it was 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
We're
There
pretty
you go.
close.
Okay, yeah. No, very enjoyable film. I recommend going and watching it if you like that kind of movie. What we kind of discussed. Even though we gave spoilers, you could still watch this film. Or hopefully you stopped when we said spoilers, watched it, and came back. But yeah, there you go, you guys. Check out all the links below for any relevant social media stuff. And we'll see you next time, okay? Take care, you guys.
Bye, guys.